So when you are making the cutest enamel in the business, how many demands do you already have for Galarian Ponyta pins?
I'm Backrolls.
I'm Mac Fraser, and we're the Nintendo Nerds.
We're a new comedy and gaming duo, here to help you craft and play your way to a better day.
We met in the not-too-distant past during some spirited online Mario Kart, and discovered we share a love for art, gaming, and all things Nintendo.
And we want to share our nerdy knowledge with you.
So stick around, because in today's video, we are joined by the incredible pin and apparel designer, Mamobot.
Now, I personally cannot believe that we have the good luck to have Mamobot on our show, because I've been proudly wearing Mamobot pins for years. From the worlds of Pokemon, Sailor Moon, Digimon, and even RuPaul's Drag Race, Mamobot has been running their own small business for many years now, and that is the business of making the most adorable clothing for anyone who wants to look magical, cute, and cool. Mamobot, thanks for being with us today. It's so exciting to have you here.
Yeah, I'm so excited to be on. Thank you for having me.
Now, Backrolls already knew your work, but to a pair of fresh eyes, the amount of work that you have made is staggering. How long ago did you start into making the clothing and the pins?
I've actually sold art for the longest time, but the Mamobot brand artist itself was created around 2 years ago. But I've been selling artwork at conventions and online since I was maybe like 15.
It's
Oh,
definitely
wow.
nice. So you definitely have your experience in
It's
the
been a long
economy
time.
side of it. It was
Yeah.
just a matter of rebranding.
Yeah, basically.
So in addition to your pop culture influences, you have lots of adorable original characters that feature prominently in your clothing. When did you first start drawing your characters like Witch Boy and Tough Guy?
Okay, so my first character ever was the Magical Boy, which I drew probably in middle school when I was making up my own characters. I would create characters and write stories for them in forms of comics, and obviously all the storylines were like ripped off from Shonen Jump and stuff like that. But I love Sailor Moon and Magical Girls and stuff like that, and I just wanted to create a boy, and that's where the Magical Boy Mama, which is his name, and I guess also my name now. That's where that comes from. So that's how it all started.
And what about art in general? Wow, like when did you really begin to feel like you found your own style, really?
So finding a style takes a long time. So it was a journey for me. But I started drawing, kind of tracing, imitating the popular mangas at the time, like Dragon Ball Z, Sailor Moon. It wasn't until maybe high school that I started to fine tune my aesthetic and style, and that's what it is now. Just like cutesy, adorable with a little bit of like sass.
A little
Nice.
bit of sass is perfect way to explain it. I definitely feel that. So you keep up a very well-stocked web store. Is that something that you run yourself entirely, or do you receive help with that?
At the moment, it's myself and a few friends that help me out whenever I need them. So it's mainly just me. So whenever we have like a big drop or launch, I can't do it all myself. So I would hire a few friends, have them over, maybe buy them dinner, and then we'll be packing all night.
It'll be super fun. We're gonna write shipping labels.
Yeah, well, we print them now. It used to be writing. That was painful.
Moving into the future.
So it sounds like as a small business owner, you're pretty much always spinning plates. Is that correct?
Yeah.
What are some of the
spinning plates?
Oh
Is it
yeah, just
spinning
like
plates?
it's always I'm from Kentucky originally, so forgive me. I
Okay.
always talk in metaphor.
Okay.
But I'd imagine that you have to be aware of so many different facets of the business when you are an entrepreneur, because there's only so many hours in the day, and you're the only person who believes in it as strongly, so usually
Yes.
you have to be the one to do the marketing and the social media and the shipping, in addition to fielding angry customer service complaints. I'd imagine it's a
Yes.
lot of things to keep juggled in the air, but I'd imagine it's probably a very rewarding experience when it's your own work.
Yeah, that's exactly how I feel. I think nowadays, to be a quote-unquote successful artist, you can't just draw. You gotta be your own businessman. You gotta do marketing, advertising, social media. You gotta do it all, because otherwise, you're not gonna make it.
So, in addition to supplying your website, you attend a lot of cons as a vendor. What's that experience like?
Oh, conventions are so fun. You basically just set up a little booth and like decorate it really cute, and you just like meet so many people who you wouldn't otherwise meet. I've been doing it for a long time. The experience is really fun because everywhere is different. Like if you go on the West Coast, it's vastly different from the East Coast, and then like other countries too, like Canada. The crowd is different also, but everyone is super nice. And it's very rewarding too.
How do you find the dynamic changes as at each con? Like, you say East Coast and West Coast. Like, what's the difference, or what is the thing that stands out the most to you?
I think mostly what people like. Everyone's very nice. Like across the board, every convention, everyone's very nice. It's just the taste level of certain things. Like some things, like the West Coast, I would feel is more into current stuff, like Demon Slayer and all the current video games. Whereas, like, I guess East Coast and the Midwest, people tend to like the classics. Like, you can't go wrong with the classic animes like Naruto or Sailor Moon.
That's
or like
really
classic video
interesting.
games like Smash Brothers or Pokemon.
Yeah, how about that? That's really cool that depending on kind of where you are geographically,
Your
that
demographic will affect your inventory. Yeah.
yeah, the tastes
Yeah.
and the wants of your customers are going to change.
Yeah, I've been doing this for a while, so that's what I've been noticing. But otherwise, very similar in terms of kindness and the excitement.
Well, it's
I
hard to walk into your booth and stay grumpy, you know?
Oh,
Well, it's not just video games and anime. The way I actually discovered your work a few years back was through your collaboration with the amazing drag queen Kim Chi. What's it like to collaborate with other artists on your pin design?
it's amazing. Like, actually, Kim is the reason why I started making pins. Actually, because she asked me to make some pins for her first ever enamel pins, and then after she sold out of them, she was like, "Why don't you make pins?" And I was like, "I never really thought about making for myself." So she encouraged me, and that's how it started. I made my first two pins, the tough guy pins, the pink one, the blue one. They sold out within like a month, which at the time was like amazing. And I
Oh
was like,
wow.
you know what, I can do this. And I started making more and more.
And little
And
did
that's
you know
how-
you'd reach a point where you're having pins that sell out in a couple of hours.
Yeah, so that's how like Mamobot really started.
So let's turn our attention to video games now. Are you much of a gamer? We kind of assumed yes. What games are you
Yes.
playing these days? It's obvious you're a big fan of Pokemon. Do you have a
Yes.
Switch?
I do.
Nice. And how excited are you for Pokemon?
I'm so excited. I played every single generation of Pokemon, even like the side games. I like Mystery Dungeon. The mobile games I'm obsessed with. Pokemon Masters and also Pokemon Shuffle.
Nice. Other than the Pokemon games, what kind of games do you play?
Final Fantasy games. I also like Fire Emblem. The new one's pretty cool.
Great title.
Yeah. I love MMOs too. So Ragnarok on the mobile, Eternal Love, that's one of my faves right now. And then I play League of Legends Teamfight Tactics. That's what I'm currently obsessed with.
Well, I can personally attest to wanting to make too many nerdy pieces of art and not having enough hours in the day to make all that art. It seems like you're so prolific, but you call yourself in your bio a part-time illustrator. How do you make the time to make so much art? Do you have a daily practice that you keep to?
Yeah, I have like a super strict kind of schedule that I stick to myself. On the weekends, I pretty much just draw, and at night, it's kind of like it's like my relaxation hobby basically. I really like drawing. I've been drawing all my life, and even like when I was doing other work in the college, doing a major that's completely different from art, I would incorporate art into everything, to my notes and stuff like that. So I find it easy to make time actually because it's like my only hobby besides like video games, of course.
Well, it sounds like the passion is definitely there, and it sounds like
Yes.
you still enjoy what you do very, very much. So,
Yeah, I mean, I love it.
so not to sound like you don't have enough franchises under your belt because there's so many, but are there any video game series that really inspire you that you haven't gotten around to making pins for yet? And are you ready to dive into some Galarian Pokemon?
Yes, I am planning a Galarian Ponyta, of course. And then the Weezing is pretty cool, so
Oh,
I'm definitely
yes!
gonna make
I love the Weezing.
You took that was actually my lead into my next question too.
that. I love the design so much.
Well, Everyone's expecting Galarian Ponyta. I think that's obvious with your work, but I'm so excited to see your take on a Galarian Weezing. I really love that you don't always go for the most obvious Pokemon. My coworker gasped out loud when they saw that you made a Sableye pin, and they actually bought 2 of them just to make sure that they always have one in case one goes missing.
That's so sweet.
But what Pokemon do you really find yourself drawn to, and what makes you decide that they would be a great pin?
I just make Pokemon that I like personally. I want to eventually make them all. That's a huge project for later, but I just choose the ones I like basically. And I get whenever I post pictures, I would ask for feedback, and then I'll say like, "What's your favorite type? What's your favorite like whatever?" And then like people would comment. So I read all the comments, and if it's something that keeps popping up, I'll probably consider it and make it a pin.
Yeah, listening to the ether, and you have by now some dedicated fans who love your art style and are looking forward to seeing your spin on some of these Pokemon.
Yeah, of course. I just draw what I like mainly, and then I listen to the people who comment, and that's basically it.
Absolutely. If it sparks joy in you, then that's a great reason to draw it, and then and naturally that probably leads to pretty successful pins.
Yeah, I would assume that's a good recipe.
So all the pins are handmade, one by one. That seems like a really intensive process. Nowadays, you seem to combine different materials and finishes in one pin. Was learning the process of production a bumpy road, or were there any major trials along the way to establishing the web store and making sure that you have stock?
Oh yeah, figuring the logistics is a nightmare in the beginning, and it's still kind of a nightmare today because I have just so much inventory, and just manufacturing the pins and just making sure they come out right and colors. That was a process. So I now have Pantone books, because originally when I would pick out colors on the computer monitor, they would come out like
Completely
3 shades
differently.
different.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so I had to buy this super expensive.
It's
like,
so
Pantone
expensive to
book.
buy the Pantone book. It's like
I know.
$300 or something
I
obscene.
know. I know. Luckily, I got like a used one off like Amazon or eBay a while back, but it still cost me like an arm and a leg.
Ugh.
If I may, for those of us who don't know, myself included, what is a Pantone book?
So a Pantone book is basically a book of color swatches. Like if you go to the paint store, there's like a book of paint swatches. It's basically a code book that is universal for like everything.
It has been generally accepted as the quote-unquote color language for so many manufacturers.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so there's like certain quantities of colors like mixed in ratio. So there's like recipes underneath each color that should be universal for like across the board.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're a big business, it's no big deal to invest in something like that. But as a small vendor, that's a pretty penny that Pantone book costs. It's good to hear that you found it on sale somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got it for like half off, so
Oh,
I
brilliant.
was happy.
It seems like nowadays it's a far more accessible idea to produce an apparel and pins, but I think it's important to know that you have your own website as opposed to working off of a platform like Etsy or Redbubble. These platforms that seem to be making it harder and harder for an individual business owner to make a living for themselves while maximizing profits for themselves. Is making your own website something that you would encourage to young artists? Is that something that you have found easier?
Yeah, 100%. It's like way more customizable. Your customers basically get a better feel of your brand and your art style based on how you design your website, and there's less fees.
And less fees is huge, especially when you're trying to get off the ground.
Mm-hmm. But the Etsy marketplace is a really good start too. I know a lot of friends who started off on Etsy and then slowly transitioned to their own website because the marketplace has like a built-in community. That people just like search it. If you don't have like a strong following already, sometimes Etsy is a good start. But eventually, you'll want your own website regardless.
It gives you a bit of that exposure in the early days of your business, I would assume, yeah.
Yeah.
So speaking of young artists, is there any advice that you have about like this adventure that you've taken that you wish you could tell your younger self?
I'd say just go for it, because I know like when I first started out, I was like doubting myself a lot, but you just gotta invest in what you believe in and believe in yourself.
And that's good advice. The best way to do it is just to start doing it. And you eventually will look back on your earliest work and go, oh God, I can't believe I made that. But that's such a wonderful feeling to have, to see how far you've come.
Yeah, you learn way more by making that mistake and then realizing later than just like waiting. Because if you wait too long for everything to be perfect, then you're already like...
Then you'll wait forever.
So behind, yeah.
One of the best ways to learn is to make those mistakes so that you know the answer for next time.
Well, we've certainly done that here at the Nintendo Nerds. Well, as always, it's time to build out our artist family tree. We'd love to know who some of your influences are in the art world and beyond.
So I'm obsessed currently with this artist named Paper Beat Scissors. He's like one of my favorite artists right now. Ken Sugimori, of course, big influence, Pokemon, and just the original Ragnarok online game. That's actually what I give credit to for like helping me, find my style and just inspiring me to draw. I don't know the artist name, but whoever drew the official artwork for Ragnarok Online, that's my guy.
So I think we have time for one more question. Mamobot, are you as bothered as Backrolls that Galarian Ponyta is not a fairy type?
You know what? Pokemon has made some like really interesting choices, and I'm here for it. I'm here for a psychic type, Maybe.
I'm here for a psychic type, but how is Weezing a fairy and Ponyta is not?
I don't know. Weezing looks like one of those like old gays, so I don't know. But also, like who says Galarian Rapidash won't be fairy?
That's true. That's been some of the speculation as well, and I've also thought that as well. As like maybe later, but I love psychic types truly, but it just in appearance, looking at those two Pokemon side by side.
Yeah, I'm sorry. The aesthetic definitely says fairy type.
It says My Little Ponyta.
Yes.
Well, Mamobot, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate your time.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
As always, we hope you leave this video ready to pick up a Pro Controller, a paintbrush, or a pen. I'm Backrolls.
I'm Mac Fraser, and this has been the Nintendo Nerds.